here with Gloria Macias, Director of Credit and Collections for Action Gypsum Supply. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you.
So tell us about your career journey. I know you were with an auto finance company before construction, but how did you even get to that?
Yes, actually, so I started in indirect auto finance young, straight out of high school, 18 years old. I started working for the Freakin' companies. They're the parent company to Toyota and Lexus. And it was an entry level position. I was a data entry clerk. That was back in the day when you went to a dealership and they submitted your application and we got your application and we typed in every single detail of what you wanted on it. So I started there as a data entry clerk. Like I said, I was just about 18 years old. And prior to that, as a student, I worked in a dealership. So that's where I kind of found a love for that. But I was a go-getter. I wanted to do more, but I wasn't very suited for school. And it's something that I decided to forego at the time. So I quickly went from data entry clerk to a loan processor, the funding department. And then from there, I went into a buyer position, which is a credit analyst, where we're now reviewing the credit applications that are submitted from the dealerships and making those decisions, as well as selling paper, quote unquote. That's what we did. So when we'd buy the paper, but then we would also we were sort of an inside sales position because we'd have to call the finance managers and try to sell our decision versus the other finance company decisions they would. So, why my rate was better, why my stipulations were better. So I got experience kind of with the sales and credit very early on. But I wanted to be in management. I just feel that that's my niche. I feel like that's, training, mentoring, being a leader, that was definitely what I wanted to do. And so I spoke to my management team about what I needed to do to get there and worked my way ultimately then to a funding manager. So I was a department manager of our funding department. Managed about a team of 12. And then after some changes, that team kind of got split up. So there was 2 of us managing the department. Then let's see, it was right around 13 years, I think, that I was there, 13, 14 years. Yeah, that are the company at the time. It was no longer Freakin' Companies. It was Auto One, but they closed their auto division. So I think, like I said, I started there, I was 18 going on 19, and then I'm 33, finding myself having myself getting back into the workforce. Hadn't had an interview in years. But thankfully, I found my home very quickly with GM Financial. We were losing, Auto One was closing and losing all of their buyers. So these other finance companies were picking us right up. So I didn't really miss much time. Went to GM Financial. I got hired there as a credit analyst, but then quickly got promoted to a credit manager. And I managed the regions in Louisiana and Mississippi. And again, same thing, buying paper, selling the paper, but then also managing the team of credit analysts, managing their portfolios, their capture ratios, that sort of thing. I ended up moving from GM Financial to Chase Auto Finance. I needed a change, but I realized really fast that it wasn't a different company that I needed something new altogether. I had become widowed and was a single mother right around that time.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, the hours in auto are super demanding. And it was right around that time, 2013, where dealerships started opening on Sundays. So we were going to have to be available on Sundays. And it just didn't work for me anymore. So I started submitting my resume, pretty much like just shotgunning my resume. Anything that said credit analyst, credit manager, credit anything, I sent my resume to. And it was a few months until I finally got a phone call directly from Terry King, the managing partner of Action Gypsum Supply. I didn't even know what gypsum meant, to be honest. I didn't even know what gypsum meant. But I came in for the interview. It was super close to home. The hours were perfect. And I think the fact that I knew nothing about construction, what gypsum was. And I remember in my interview, Terry said to me, I need someone who can protect our lien rights, file our bond claims on time, make sure that our AR is protected. And I said to her, I don't know any of that, but I will learn it. Give me an opportunity, and allow me to take, my years of management experience, my years of credit experience, and just, discretion and using good judgment, and I will learn. And it worked out. I got a call 3 or 4 days later and got hired as Action Gypsum's new credit manager. And that was in 2013.
She liked your confidence.
Thank goodness.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When you started at Action Gypsum, what kind of were your tools to learn about construction law and the credit side of construction?
Well, so again, I had the basic and credit management skills down. I knew how to manage a team. I knew how to mentor and to read procedure, write procedure. I had nearly 15 years in credit, analyzing credit bureaus, decisioning consumer loans, and, managing a team up to 12 people. So with that part of it, overall management and credit skills, I was confident.
Okay.
Learning construction law and lien law and filing bond claims and statutes and all of that good stuff, that was a whole nother story for sure. Action was incredible. They provided me all the resources and the support that I needed to learn the business. And one of the main things that both Terry and Lenine, who is the other managing partner, that they said to me, or they introduced to me, was the NACM. Action Gypsum was an existing member of NACM, but the credit manager at the time wasn't involved. And when I spoke to her, she just didn't seem that she didn't feel that there was a lot that she got from the industry group meetings.
Interesting.
With that said, I'd never done it, and I wasn't going to just take her word for it. And plus, my management, they didn't just encourage it; they pretty much required it. It was on, the list of, when you look at the position and requirements, was attend NACM industry group meetings.
I see that.
Yeah. So I did. I went to the first few meetings every month, and didn't know everything that they were talking about, but listened intently and took notes. And then the first industry group meeting that I attended was the Builder Supply Group. And a few people I remember stuck out in my mind as I listened to them, dialogue back and forth with their inquiries and information. Lisa Childress actually is one person that really stands out for me. She knew what she was talking about, and she was tough. And like I said, I paid attention. I listened to the input that they were giving each other during the exchange, and I wrote down a lot of things, and I just took a lot of it in. And then I asked them a lot of questions during and after those discussions. And then aside from them, if not all of my lien training came from the Andrews Myers team. Jason Walker and Debbie Gregerson are literally my lien law heroes. They gave me my own one-on-one lien law class in their offices. That's when they were still out in, I think, River Oaks, that area. And it was just me, Jason, and Debbie in their conference room with the slides going, with the handout. And the same class they give, during the lien law classes, but it was just the three of us one-on-one.
That would be nice.
It was so nice because I got to ask all of the questions. I had all of the time. I felt like they were my own personal trainers. And then even after that, Debbie came to our office here and sat with me and my team at the time, which wasn't very many of us, and just taught us how she looked up owners on the appraisal districts, what her tricks were. Just between NACM, Andrews Myers, because they are huge. Carl Williams, he used to be a credit manager at an electric supply company. He was amazing. I learned very quickly that the peer of credit managers are an asset to each other. We may be competitors, so to say, but as far as a credit team, we're definitely not. It's a very united team, and that was different for me. Carl came in after hours, about after 4:00, and showed me a mail merge system that he used because they did their own lien letters. We were doing our own lien letters at the time, and it was very manual. And I remember when we first did them, I thought to myself, there's no way we're still doing this. like, this is so outdated. And,
Yeah.
so he came in and he helped me. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how I learned. And then I just picked it up as I, went and asked questions and utilized almost every webinar or class that NACM offered, to be honest.
Yeah. They're huge. I mean, they're awesome. Their education program, their networking, all of that is great with them. So I'm glad
Yeah,
you found them right off the bat. Kind of made it easier than having to find places to go and find that education.
yeah, I kind of miss that we don't have as many, in-person
Yeah.
classes, stuff like that. I mean, without them, I literally would have been at the mercy of the one other credit assistant who worked here. And keep in mind, she was formerly the credit manager.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
yes.
Well, that kind of goes into the next question. So you got your team, and apparently you got some position that somebody else had took. How did that go?
Yeah, so the credit team when I was hired in 2013 consisted of myself and one credit assistant, and that credit assistant had formerly been the credit manager. And not to discredit her in any way, at the time, Action was growing, and she wasn't an experienced credit manager. She had done a great job up into what she could, but because Action was growing and on the uptick, they knew at that time that they needed an experienced manager, and that's where I came in. So it was just she and I. We had just, and at that time Action had just opened their 5th branch, which was our branch in Austin. But I did quickly hire a second credit assistant almost immediately in early 2014. Now, granted, that was 2013. Today, Action, we're in 4 states, we're 17 branches, and the credit team is a total of 9, including myself.
Oh, wow.
So I have 6 credit and AR specialists here in Texas, in Houston, and then I've got 2 credit specialists that office out of our Southern California branch. So yeah, quickly had a team reporting to me the minute I stepped in of 1 person. Quickly hired a second, and as we opened new branches and went into new states, I kept hiring.
So what were you looking for when you were hiring somebody?
To be honest, based on what I could offer and how we were growing, I just kind of looked for someone who was hungry and wanted to learn and needed an opportunity, just like I did when I was leading auto into construction. To be honest, I like hiring. I think it's exciting to meet new people, hear where they've come from, and to hopefully learn something from them. Everyone can bring something new, whether it's just a software that they know better than I do, or just a shortcut on the softwares. So I just looked for that. With the exception of one of my hires, all of the people I hired were green. They were without experience. Came in entry level. But I got to train and watch their growth. And when you hire a new employee, especially someone who doesn't have industry experience, and you watch them excel and you watch them succeed, their success is your success.
Right.
I've been through a ton of different style of managers. And the one that I've always tried to, imitate is the managers who helped me grow, who taught me and wanted me to be as good, if not better, than the way they are. So no, it's been great. We've grown the team. As I started hiring more people, I would make sure, of course, that they were a good fit with the people we already had existing, because a positive work environment is so important. So important. Everyone's not always going to like everybody, but it's important that there's at least a good, just a good culture.
Right.
But no, I mean, the experience was fun. It was fast paced most of the time. When we went into the West, there was an existing credit manager there at the time. We quickly needed to add another. Hiring there has been a little more challenging, just because I have to do it remotely. In order to keep me from being away from home so much, I normally will do a phone interview first, then a Skype or Zoom type of interview, then bring them into the office and meet I have a senior credit specialist there. And then I normally do try to actually be there for their onboarding.
Nice. Yeah, I remember going back in the day, you used to travel all the time.
Before COVID, yeah, about every other month or so.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Kind of miss it.
Do you? I would think you'd like being home for a little while.
I do. But those breaks kind of, that absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, that's true. So what's your day-to-day look like?
Gosh, that's so hard to just put into words, I think. My office life looks exactly like my home life, though, busy and constantly moving. So obviously, from what I've mentioned, the team expanded very quickly from where we started. So my day-to-day is different now than it was in 2013. I'm not in the trenches, making as many of the collection calls or signing the lien waivers or taking payments. I've got a great team who's doing that. They are divided by market, but I still stay very heavily involved with each of them on a day-to-day basis, overseeing just the performance of each market, their progress, DSO, of course. I still do pull and aging every day. I'm sorry, every week. I'm lying. I don't do it every day. Weekly, just to see, I check those heavy columns, our 60 plus columns, our 90 plus columns. I do all the follow-up for accounts that are in 60 plus, making sure, working with my team to make sure, what actions we've taken. Oh, sorry, I was just going to say something else and I lost my train of thought. So again, the credit specialists pretty much handle all the day-to-day, the A through Z, everything for each account, but applications as well. Although I am the final look on most applications, especially if they're over a certain credit amount or if they're limited. I'll take the final look usually on those. Reports all day, every day, our performance dashboard, DSO, monitoring and following up on the ineligible collateral list, payment methods, credit card activity. I think probably for most is, a red flag item for all of us credit managers. So it is definitely a component that I watch and keep on my radar. It's an operational cost. And if there's a way that we can contribute to driving that down, then I definitely watch that and look at ways that we can do that as a team. I do sit in on mostly all manager and sales meetings. We conduct a monthly sales meeting with each salesperson and credit specialist together right after lien week, go over their aging. And, we didn't do that always. We initiated that as another way to try to, bridge that gap between sales and credit, being their ally, making sure they're aware of who's about to hurt them, in their pockets as they, roll over into the next column. So we do that. And then of course, all of the credit training, hiring, refreshers when needed. I also assist with the training for our sales teams to make sure that they know how to type up an order the right way so that we can get the information we need.
There you go, right off the start.
Yeah, right off the start. I want to know when there's a new outside salesperson, inside salesperson, anyone who's going to type up orders, so that we can give them just a quick, this is what we need, this is why we need it, and this is your role to help us protect the order that you're about to release.
That's awesome.
Constantly reminding them that it's not a sale until it's paid for.
Right.
Also, of course, in Texas, we do still handle all of our intents and liens in-house. We do them all here. I take the lead on that and manage that. It's important and it's my baby. So it's one of the things I've had a hard time letting go. But actually, as we kind of talked about in January, I did get sick and I was out for the first time in almost 8 years on the 15th of January. I was freaking out, but I have a great team and they took over and they made me realize that I do need to pass the torch as well. So I'm currently in the process of training all of our credit specialists on how to process intents, file the liens, record them, what information to gather, and how to get it.
Awesome. I'm sure they like getting that extra knowledge as well.
Yeah, no, I think they were all a little shook at first, but they're okay now. And then after liens, I decide which and when liens need to go to foreclosure, to sue, to demand, and then do all of the communication with our attorneys. On the West Coast, it's a little different because they're a preliminary notice state, so we do not do it in-house. It would be way too much, and we do use a service for them.
You have to send one on every job there, right?
Every job, yeah, we have a threshold. We have a threshold but every job that meets that threshold within 20 days of the first delivery.
Okay.
And that's a whole lot of jobs.
That is. What have been some of the highs and lows of your position?
To be honest, there have been lots of highs. It feels like it's been an 8-year high, to be quite honest with you.
That's good.
Just because it's been constant growth, constant having to adapt and going into a new market, every few months, and just meeting new people, hiring new personnel. I know it sounds super cliche, but I love it here, and it's been mostly all highs. I joined the team just as it was, kicking into high gear. So it's busy. It's kept me on my toes. It's taught me how to adapt. And, I've always been known as one of those people who don't exactly like for you to move her cheese, but that I've adapted and I continue to. There's been challenges, but it's just been so rewarding just to have the success in each market and be able to grow and be able to build, and then personally, just to be able to have gone from, yes, a strong credit manager, but knowing nothing about this industry, to feeling pretty darn confident about what I know and what I can do and what I can teach. I would say when I first started, the greatest challenge was, again, building that bridge between sales and credit. There wasn't much unity at the time. Right. Not for any bad reason. Sales didn't understand credit, and credit didn't completely understand sales. Right. So that was honestly, aside from learning lien law and learning the business, my first order of business was fixing that between sales and credit. I started, getting out into the field, meeting customers, something that, the credit manager here had never done. Getting to know the salespeople, getting to understand what their challenges are in the market, and then understanding how we could help. Making sure that my team understood that it wasn't us versus them. We are a support team to our salespeople. They're out there face to face getting the business, and then we need to do everything we can on the inside to support the efforts they've made and make sure that we get paid. It benefits all of us when you work together.
Absolutely. Sales and credit has always been the toughest part. I don't know if every industry, but at least in construction. So the fact you saw that right off the bat, I bet they really appreciated that, because then they got to know you right off the bat as well.
Absolutely. And I would definitely be safe to say that they didn't like me at first. It was like, whoa. Who does she think she is? And, why is she, getting into our business? But yeah, and that's one of the highs, is having salespeople say, you know what, Gloria, I've made more money since you've been here, because we're protecting their less losses. Without getting into too specific of numbers, our bad debt went from the negative to a positive.
Nice.
And just after the first year here, and not solely because of me, just because of us implementing the rules, making sure we send intents. Salespeople and managers, they would be scared, don't send an intent, you're going to make them mad, or, you're going to, ruin a customer's relationship with the GC. But then even teaching our customers how we're protecting them, and teaching them how to send their notices. We, I guess it was about 2 years in, we had Jason and Debbie come out, and we did a lien law class, an abbreviated lien law class for our sales staff. Awesome. It was great, to teach them, help them understand, why we needed what we needed and why we were holding their order up for a general contractor's name. But it's just, the benefits have completely outweighed, the bumps in the road that we hit. We've got a great team between sales and credit. I sit in on their biweekly sales Wednesday morning meetings. Sometimes there's nothing for me to contribute in those meetings, but I get to hear what their challenges are, what they're running into, new customers that they're, prospecting, and see if I've heard something about them, or just anything that we can do to help. So I would say it's definitely been an 8-year high. I can't define any real true lows, aside from the fact that, there's some days that are more trying than others. Having to hire quickly. But again, even with having to hire, it's all been good hiring, because it's because of growth, never because of turnover.
That is good. That was awesome. What advice do you have for credit managers, or even just students that are still trying to pick their career and try to convince them to do construction? But just what advice would you have for anybody?
Well, first, I definitely say don't let construction scare you. Hard hats and heavy equipment might not be the most attractive thing when you're first, looking and starting out, but there's definitely a lot to learn. I think in construction, you'll find yourself a part of, an industry that's just growing and evolving. And I think we're only going to continue to do that. But for new credit managers, I'd say just definitely utilize your resources. Keep an open mind and be willing to learn from your peers and other experienced credit managers. We may think, we know what we're doing. I got this. You're not doing anything different than I'm doing. But I learned, and I think I've always known this, that there's always something to learn from someone else. Definitely be adaptable, because the processes will change, the procedures will change, and then they're going to change again. Take advantage of networking opportunities. That was, huge for me. Attending the industry group meetings, and even some of the ones that perhaps the subject itself wasn't directly pertinent to me in my role, but being there and meeting other credit managers and just getting to know them, and having building those relationships and a rapport with them, it's invaluable. When you can pick up the phone and call another credit manager and ask anything, whether it be about the software you're using, or a mutual customer, or just to borrow some Walls certified envelopes because you ran out and forgot to order enough by Linda.
That's awesome.
It's happened. True story. Just, building a rapport with your fellow credit managers, and as a credit manager too, you mentioned confidence earlier, and I think confidence goes a long way. We know what we're talking about. We've attended the lien law classes. We've been in these webinars. We know what we're talking about, but we have to have confidence, and we have to season our words and be teachers. So we can't take that attitude like, this is why we're doing it because I said so. But learning what the laws in the industry, and then teaching others so that they can understand as well. I've always been huge on our relationship and communication with our internal customers, the same as our external customers. Salespeople are our customers. Accounting team is our customers. And the more that we can help them understand what we're faced with and what we're doing, then they're going to be more supportive. I feel like I'm going on and on about how supportive my sales team is, but honestly, it's because it's really true. They'll get on the phone and back us up, and that just goes a long way.
Well, and they'll like to hear that too. Knowing that they are part of your team. A lot of salespeople just don't feel that way. We're trying to work, a way to get them to feel and connect better with their credit people right now. So, it's a good thing to have. Yeah, no, absolutely. And the industry's, it's amazing. It's fun, lots of moving parts, never a dull moment. I can't think of one day that I sat here with nothing to do. And then I guess finally, just never stop educating yourself. And then, pay it forward. I appreciate to this day the leaders and mentors throughout my career who took the time to share their experience with me and teach me and even correct me when it needed to be done.
feedback, both positive and constructive, be willing to give it and then be willing to take it.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of brings us right into this, who has supported? I mean, who's kind of been your mentor all along?
Aside from my family, because I have to mention them, and my friends, because I've always been, the go-getter, and they've been 1000% behind me on that. But no, professionally, since I worked in auto, I would say three, for sure, three wonderful mentors. Should I say their names? But
You can.
Rochelle Watson, Craig Lackner, Irene Merrick, regional managers and credit managers, different roles, still in the auto business, some retired, but they showed me tough love. They saw my potential. And when I went to them, each one of them at one point or another in my career, and said, I want to do this, I want to do that, well, but I want this position. And I think I should have this or that. I was young, I was young. I thought I deserved everything right then and there. But they took the time to say, okay, yeah, you could do that, but do this first. And let me see you accomplish this. Show me you can do, that. And then they gave me all of the opportunities. They gave me my first opportunities, in management, to teach. I had a facilitator role at one point where I taught, customer service and sales and how to handle a difficult conversation. I was probably 23 years old. And then, up until now, I'd say, the support of, again, my peers. I have to continue to mention that because that's taken me a long way. And Terry King, Lenny Juarez here at Action Gypsum, the support and understanding, the fact that they know how important the credit manager role is and how difficult it is. We joke about sales and credit, being good cop and bad cop. And we don't always want to be the bad cop. We want to have, we want to not have to hide our face at every event when they're like, oh, you're the credit manager. But no, I mean, their support honestly has been undescribable. I have a voice here and they allow me to use it, and they're open to my ideas. They're open to my suggestions. And they'll allow me to try something new and see if it works or if it doesn't, and then to change it from there. So the management team here, the owners here, again, NACM, Andrews Myers, construction wise in this industry, they've been amazing.
Awesome. So how do you think the industry might change in the next 10 years? I know we got COVID going on, so it's kind of throwing it in its own direction, but do you see any other type of changes?
Yeah, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, to be quite honest, is that, I mean, obviously I imagine there's going to be change. Like I said, we are evolving in construction, just with all the little things you have here on your slide, automation. We're hearing so much more about it. We're seeing amazing things with the software that we're using here that we'll be able to use out in the field, that will get signatures to us faster. And, customers being able to, there's so many ways now that customers can access their AR and their, things online and making payments. So definitely see, automation. And again, you mentioned COVID. I think that the COVID pandemic will certainly change the way we build. And then even the way we communicate. I mean, we've seen that it already has.
Right.
So I think, just being more safety minded, we're going to see really exciting things. Just, I've seen some just preliminary things about spacing between the way cubicles are built or the offices are set up, the higher walls, just to keep us safer. So I don't know for sure. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know for sure, but I definitely know that it's going to be ever changing. And it's going to be fun to be a part of.
Yeah. Once you go in construction, you never leave.
That's what I'm told.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. And like I said, we're featuring you. We're very excited to have you part of our celebration. And if there's anything else you want to add in, we'd love to hear it. Otherwise, I can let you go.
Yeah, no, I feel like I have talked and talked and talked. But no, this was fun, Lori. Thank you. It's just this alone makes me feel very accomplished in this industry. And I hope that anything that I've said will help the next person.
Absolutely will.